I'm Sariya. Welcome to this commentary video on my race number 97 on this Exolab Mackerel. In this video I will be explaining a few things that I did for the race. Not everything will be explained because I realized that I was explaining way too much. So I'm going to start out by something very simple that is not actually has anything to do with me, and it's this overlay that you can see here. As you can see, it has various info, and as we go through the video, it is going to be displaying various information too. For example, just how much salvage per second I get, how much time until the time percent bonus drops, and just how much that means for me. That's not something that I can see all in-game, but it's very interesting post-game. It is based on two mods. They will be linked in the description. The first one is the Racer's Ledger by Sariya, and the second one uses Sariya's mod, and it is made by Tashi, to give you all sort of info. Right now you can only see some of it because I cropped it to only have the information that I wanted for the video, but you can actually have a lot more. Now we're going to view the entirety of the run, and I will point things out as they are. So right away you can see for this specific section at the beginning I didn't use a tether. That's because I wanted to preserve as many as possible. I didn't exactly work on this run as much as I could have, so I ended up with a lot more tethers than I needed, but it was really important for me to finish this whole thing without going back to the hab and buying more oxygen or tethers, because at the end of the day that will add to your final score, or rather that will deduct money from your final score. Now as you can see, for those sections on the side, I'm being careful that my split saw only hits this cut point or this specific area. That's because the solar cells have a cut level 1. If they had a cut level 2, like other nacelles on different types of mackerel, I could just carelessly split saw at them. That's not the case here, so you have to be very careful not to damage them. Now here, I'm making sure as I position myself that I get all the cut points at the bottom. That's why getting the front detached early on was also very useful, is because we want to see this whole thing so we don't have to go back and cut more afterwards. Generally speaking, trying to cut as many cut points as possible at once is optimal. Same thing here, just lining up as many as possible. Unfortunately, even though I have the range, some of the cut points will mask each other, which will make the task harder. Now I'm split sawing all of those cut points because they have no value, and I'm also not bothering to try and detach the various power cells individually, because that's just a waste of time when I can simply split saw the cut point underneath it. Here when I'm tethering, I'm going to be aiming specifically for the center of this nanocarbon piece. The reason why is because when it's going to be dragged by the tether, it's going to be going as horizontally as possible. If I had, for example, placed a tether here, then the section instead would be flipping. And when it does that, there's a tiny lip over there, and it could be scooping up some of the wires that are still there. There are so many colors on this. This is disgusting. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm trying to make it slide off as smoothly as possible without scooping any of the wires.
Material deposited. Account credit.
When I'm gathering all of those power cells, I know that there are exactly 4, so I know not to look for more because I ran this ship several times, even though I didn't run it as much as I could have. Now here I'm going to be fumbling a little bit because I am trying to tether the thruster to the computer. Trying to pair up different objects that are going to go down into the barge. That was not a good strategy, that was not a good call, even though it made me gain more time in regards to detaching the computer. I could have simply tethered it down to the antenna, and I realized that only afterwards. So not the best routing there. When I'm pushing all of those panels, notice that I'm pushing them towards the left because all the wires are floating to the right and I don't want them to be scooped up. Now I'm going to be using a little movement when I'm moving this airlock that I stole directly from Leek. It's not DN Leek specifically. It's not the only movement I stole from him. He also has a video up with his run. He's first place in this race. So I'm going to be grappling this airlock, and then I'm just going to be going right, just for like less than a second. And what that will do is that it will get the airlock to flip, if you will. And when it does that, it's going to push the entirety of this side, not just this one panel, also all of it here. It's going to flip the entirety of it, and it's going to separate it to from the main body. There we go. It's just as small as that. You don't necessarily need to have giant pushes because it exploits what we call the tow truck. Well, to be complete, we use it the clone's car tow truck, but short is tow truck, which is basically exploiting a bug from the game's engine, which is using smaller objects to push bigger objects. If you've seen my videos before or any of the other races, you've seen this exploited a bunch before and probably heard explanations as well. So while we're there, of course, we must not forget the console that is on the other side, that is supposed to be opening the airlock. And once again, trying to aim as close to the middle as possible to avoid scooping up those wires. At this point in the run, I realized that I had way too many tethers. As I said, I didn't optimize their use as much as I could have, but I could have spent more on various panels. Now I'm gonna push all of those wires into the furnace and hope they make it. Here I'm gonna be using... oh well, first I'm gonna get the data drive. The data drive doesn't have any value. The only reason why I'm getting it this time is because it was on the task list or work order list. They use both names. And everything on the task list gives you a bonus. If you want to learn more about bonus, both time and work orders, I have an explanation in my Race 101 video that you should see a little pop-up for right now. Also going to be using a technique stolen from Leek, where we tethered both of those mattresses. They go into the furnace and they're relatively easy to detach, so I do spend some time getting them off to scrap a little more credit. Material accepted. Now, I'm tethering this entire structure down into the barge, regardless of the fact that there are still a lot of aluminum in there. The reason why is because it's simply much faster, and I'm aiming for a 46% time bonus. Ideally, if you want a full salvage, that does not work. But if you want to have as much money as you can in as much time, in as little time as you can, oh Jesus Christ. if you want to get as much money as you can in as little time as possible, dunking is the way to go. I am sorry for potentially ruining the game for you. That is not the most funnest way to play it, but it is the most efficient. So technically, if you wanna be truly fully efficient, you just dunk ships. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. And there you go. Those were some comments, some pointers on what I did for this race. Hopefully you learned a few things. Please don't hesitate to tell me whether that was useful or not, whether you would have wanted more, whether I went into too many details. And I am hoping that I can do this sort of video a bit more often. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye!